We hope what you watched today inspires you. And we'd love to hear your questions and comments via Twitter at The Rock of York. You can also find us on Facebook or contact us through the website at www.rockofyork.co.uk. In the meantime, let's crack on.
Wake up. Everyone is looking for a convincing story that gives them a sense of purpose. We have one. People are precious. Your life counts. You can thrive. When we know who we are, we know what to do. We believe in new beginnings and second chances. In a joy that overcomes. In a love that endures. We are participating in the restoration of all things. God is love. God is on your side. God keeps no record of wrongs. God is in you. Jesus reveals God's heart. Jesus offers us a revolutionary way of living that we are choosing to follow. We enter this sacred space through faith, hope, and love. Faith is your decision to place your belief and trust in the goodness and faithfulness of God. Hope is the confident expectation that the last word has not been spoken. Love is felt, received, and done. We have been to hell and back and found it's not there, and discovered heaven is where we begin. Welcome to our house.
How are you all tonight? Party. Hey Georgia. We had a wonderful 21st birthday celebration last night of Georgia's, and what was wonderful was to see all of Georgia's friends gathered in front of the band, us guys singing the songs that she loves and just watching how free they were to dance. It really was lovely, and I just want to encourage us lot. You know, when Anth was speaking a few weeks ago, he was talking about the first century church were known as the happiest people alive because of the resurrection. And, you know, that's supposed to be our story, isn't it? That we believe in the resurrection, that it's not all about death, doom and gloom, but it's about life again, you know, coming out of death. And yet sometimes we can be the most stiff, starchy, miserable people on earth. And I just want to encourage you, come on, let's start expressing what we believe, that we have an incredible story, we've got an incredible hope that lies within us, and it's one of resurrection power. So we're going to do for Georgia, and also somebody who can't be here tonight, they said, I want you to sing Happy. And I said, well, we'll do it tomorrow night. And they says, oh, I'm not going to be there. I said, well, we'll still do it because they're going to watch online. So we're going to do it for them. You might say, well, why are we singing such a, you know, sort of a pop song? It doesn't matter because the words are great and they're encouraging you to rise up and be happy because we have an incredible story that's positive and incredible. So, and then we'll take it from there. Got Jenny talking tonight. She's going to bring us something awesome. Hope you're ready to hear and learn, because that's what this is all about. So, ready, rock? Yeah? Take it away, guys, then. Yeah.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. Hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air like I don't care, baby, by the way.
beneath my feet is wet, and I hear the sound of the crashing waves. All my world is washing out to sea. I'm hidden safe in the God who never moves, holding fast to the promise of the truth that you are holding tighter still to me. The rock won't move and his word is strong. The rock won't move and his love can't be undone. The rock won't move and his word is strong. The rock won't move and his love can't be undone. The rock of our salvation. The hope is in the promise of the blood, my support within the raging flood. Even in the tempest I can see. I'm hidden safe in the God who never moves, holding fast to the promise of the truth that you are holding tighter still to me. The rock won't move and his word is strong. The rock won't move and his love can't be undone. The rock won't move and his word is strong. The rock won't move and his love can't be undone. The rock of our salvation. Whoa. The rock of our salvation. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. The rock won't move, the rock won't move. When darkness seems to hide his face, I rest in his unchanging grace. The rock won't move, no, the rock won't move. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. The rock
notices. If the guys want to come and get the men with the buckets, do you want to come and get ready with your buckets? Massive buckets, because we'll need them, I'm sure. Bring your buckets down. Now, because you've got me, it means I waffle a little bit, which means you've got plenty of time to fill in your blue envelopes. I know you all worry about having enough time for that, so you've got enough time now to fill in your blue envelopes and fill it full of everything you find in the bottom of your bag and more. It'll all fit in that blue envelope, I promise. I wanted to just quickly say, I read on my sheet that this is paying it forward, and I forget sometimes because I grew up in church, so therefore it was always tithes and offerings, and we've called it Pay It Forward. And in case you don't know what the idea of paying it forward is, just to remind you, the idea is that when you have received something, you then pay it forward for somebody else, not for the person paying it back to whoever you lent it off or got it off, but paying it forward to somebody else. And the bonus to paying it forward into this house is that it will reach people that you wouldn't personally be able to reach yourself. And I was thinking, there's lots of things that happen in this house that I wouldn't want to do. I do not want to teach ballroom dancing to more mature people during the week. I don't want to do that. And I would be rubbish at it. But Joel is incredibly patient. And he might not enjoy it either, but he's incredibly patient and he loves doing it. I wouldn't want to teach any dance to anybody because I'd be awful. But Joel is brilliant at it. Danny goes into school and does assemblies. Some of you will be out there thinking, I wouldn't want to go into a primary school in front of all those kids. I wouldn't know what to say. What if I came up with the wrong topic or I accidentally said a word I shouldn't say in front of children? Like, we've all had those worries, but Danny goes in every week and he does that. And he does an incredible job at it. I don't know if I've got the patience to sit and listen to people and tell me about their lives and the things they struggle with, but Chris is great at doing that. Most of you will look at me and think, I don't think I would really want to take a group of 14-year-old boys who are naughty to brim and rocks. But you know, me and Mick, we did that this week, and we survived. Do you know, there's lots of things that we do every week that you might think, some of you are involved and that's amazing, but there's other things you might think, do you know what, I don't know that I could do that, but you can do it. You can do it by filling in your checks and putting your money into the blue envelopes, and if you're thinking, I haven't got this money this week, then we've got a card machine and it works. It's amazing. So go and use the card machine afterwards. So if the guys want to take the tithe and offering, I'm going to quickly tell you. The notices. So this week we have got Pillars Breakfast tomorrow. If you haven't been yet for a Pillars Breakfast, it is the best American breakfast this side of America. This across the pond. It is brilliant. It's amazing. I've been in the kitchen the past 2 weeks and I'm going to come and eat it tomorrow in the actual cafe, which will be great. So come along because we're definitely on for one more week, but who knows after that? Don't miss out. Come along. So that's tomorrow for breakfast. Tonight, the kids the little ones are out there upstairs and they'll be brought back to you at the end. Also, Wednesday night, it's the lab. And during half term, if you haven't got plans yet, we're going to be watching Moana. And if you're thinking, I'm not a child, I don't want to watch Moana, I have got a friend who is absolutely obsessed with this film, and I haven't seen it yet, but they say it is amazing. So you should come along and watch that. Did you want to say something about Wednesdays?
I just wanted to say that for those who were with us this last Wednesday night, we're going to continue with what we were talking about. So, if you didn't get clarity on Wednesday, you'll get clarity this week. So it's going to all be very exciting. All right, it's all going to be very exciting, so please come.
Back to breakfast, there's a special on, apparently, which is about bananas, something to do with bananas, and pecans and bananas, or pecans, and pancakes, and syrup. If you don't know what any of that is, you come along tomorrow and find out. And also, we have got George's birthday cake afterwards. So if you were not planning on staying, because you weren't sure about a biscuit, George's birthday cake is going to be amazing. So stay for a tea and coffee and a bit of amazing cake. Here you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Beth. So before we let Jenny come and talk to us, we want to sing this song as a statement of intent for this house. It's a great song, great words, and it's about how we are committing to live. And I trust that you'll enjoy this and sing it. Almost like they pledge allegiance to their flag in the USA. We're doing this because this is what we believe is the ethos of this house, and I'm sure you'll get with it. So if you'd like to stand with us and sing this. Then I shall live as one who's been forgiven. I'll walk with joy to know my debt is paid. I know my name is clear before my Father. I am his child and I am not afraid. So greatly pardoned, I'll forgive my brother. The law of love I gladly will obey. I often think about church and why we do it and why we keep getting together. It's because, there's so much that we've got to learn about getting along, isn't there? And how best to work it out and figure it out than in a place like this. This is where everything gets real. where you rub up against each other when things are said and things are difficult, and you've got to figure out, how am I going to respond to that? Are we going to respond in love, or are we going to just take our ball home and go? No, it's about learning. It's about learning like Jesus. He says he learned obedience by the things which he suffered. And you can hardly get your head around that, to think that Jesus needed to learn something. But it says he did. And he was willing then, because of the course of what he learned, to go all the way to that incredible place of laying down his life for me and you. I'll tell you what, laying down our lives for each other is pretty tough, isn't it? Come on, be honest. We all look as though, yeah, it's a doddle. No, it's not. It's blooming hard. And this is where we learn it. And we learn it by being willing to say, okay, just as Christ did for me, I'm going to at least commit to that way. Commit to that way. So we're going to sing it, and then we're going to let Jenny free. Let the kids go and let Jenny get on and tell us what she wants to say. Can I just say, Martin and Bina have just walked in, but Martin and Bina from Gower, they're with us tonight, so please go and say hello to them at the end. They're just here till Monday, but it's lovely to have them with us tonight, so, okay.
I'll walk
and then Jenny. Oh, can I just give one another announcement before we move on? As from next week, we're starting hospitality before and after, which is a lovely extra thing. So if you come early, it'll be before, and if you stay after, it'll be there too. We just want to encourage lots of fellowship here, so please come and take part in it all. Go on, Jenny. Knock us over.
Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to see you all here tonight. I have been working on something all week, and then I've set my alarm early this morning to think I'll just read through it. Woke up, I thought I don't want to say that anymore. So I've prepared something fresh today that I know I need to revisit, and I know it's not just for me. So I've called it Speak Life Revisited. And I remembered this morning a message that Anth bought in November last year that was called Speak Life. I know that some of you will remember it. I know that Urban Live, you did a whole thing around it, didn't you? Because you had your big quote on your head. And I'm going to revisit that tonight because I felt it was important to do. Because around that time that Anth delivered that message, it might even been the same week, someone spoke some words to me, one that you know, unless you do know him, but is in a different context, that I found so challenging. And since then, those words have been a voice in my head. Have any of you ever had someone who becomes a voice in your head? And sometimes I don't catch on quick. And this morning, I finally made the connection between them saying this to me in November, hearing this message on Speaking Life, and I haven't really been joining the dots. Because what I've probably done since that time is let these words settle in my mind and shape my way of life. So I needed to revisit that message this morning, and I listened to it again this morning, and so I want to recap a little bit and then add to it, reinforce it, and hopefully you will benefit from it as well. Now, I'm going to use a significant amount of what Anth said up front, so I'm plagiarising, but that's okay, he'll let me. And he started by talking about how we all know how powerful words can be. We all know that. You could sit there and give me numerous examples of things that have been said to you, positively and negatively, that have shaped who you have become to this day. And that words spoken then are shaping who we are now. We all know that. And they're not these words, he talked about how these words are not confined to space and time. They have a life of their own, and they produce life. And we all know how those negative and positive experiences from the past can stay with us for decades and be reshaping things all the time. Now, I can think, and I don't use this word lightly, I can think of words from much early in my life that I would say have haunted me. When I was about 21 years old, I was told that I would be punished for a choice I'd made by my then church leaders somewhere else. And that, for years, dominated my striving to be a wonderful person for the kingdom. And that was my driving force, those words that were spoken. Now, there was reasons why it was said in all the context, and that's all right, but that happens, doesn't it? Now, we seem to, the other thing that Anth brought at the time was that, why is it that 10 people can say something wonderful about you? You get one critic. What do you go home chewing on? You go home chewing on that one thing that challenged what you wanted to believe about yourself. And we tend to hear the negatives louder than we hear the positives. I don't know what that's all about. It's a shame that, isn't it? And we hopefully can undo a little bit of that tonight. Now, to what extent do words hold power? Hugely. And that creative power of words. And to what extent can we start to speak life to the extent that it can create something very tangible and very touchable? And how far will that go? One of the things he talked about was, can we somehow harness words to create not only a change, but a miracle? Could we be, in our time, in our generation, able to speak life to the point where we see the miraculous, something out of nothing? That excites me. In the beginning, God said. God said. He said it. let there be light, and there was light. Jesus also said to his disciples, the words I have spoken to you are spirit and life. They are in themselves those things. And I've talked about at the time how that's the same of us. We need breath, that ruach that did the same thing, to speak our words. So in speaking our words, there's great power. And think of just how much of our existence is driven by what we're creating all the time with our words. It's absolutely huge. So we've got to choose our words carefully. Not only words that we speak, but I find the worst words I say are the words I say to myself. I have an inner critic. Does anybody else have an inner critic? I have words on the inside of me. Everyone else will be like, Jen, that was great. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's awful. I suck. They're not words that are they're inside words, but those words equally are creating a narrative on the inside of me that I then work out. We write things on Facebook and social media and text messages and Instagram and whatever you use. And they're all words that create something. Now, one of the things that Ant proposed is he said, everything that will ever be made that matters in your life will be made through words. That's huge. Huge. The other thing that he said was, Jesus is what God is saying. So when we look at, he was the Word, wasn't he? The Word made flesh. And how many times have we been told, oh, Jesus says this, and you're thinking, does he? That doesn't seem to be what God's saying when I look at Jesus. Now, what I bring to the table is the decisions that I make about which of those words I'm going to believe in my life. So I've got this narrative over here, I've got this narrative over here. One of them is going to be the one that I believe and form an attachment to and walk out. And nobody other than me can really decide which of the words are going to be the ones that I make the driving force of my life. Are we going to believe the good words that the Father has spoken over humanity? Are we going to believe those? Now, last week we heard about some incredibly good news. And we are going to continually bang the drum of a more beautiful gospel, because that is what we believe, because we have an incredible covenant, an unbreakable promise of which you and I are the beneficiaries, not the creators. And those creative words within that covenant are always going to bring life and blessing, wholeness, health, wisdom, and understanding. Now, within this covenant, I don't think the language used is of condemnation, ever. I don't think it's of judgment. I don't think it's of shame. I don't think it's of despair. I don't think it's of pain and confusion. I think it's always words that are speaking life. But how often do we confess those other things? We confess that there's no hope, there's no resolution, this problem's too big, it can't be fixed. But yet in the language of God, there is always room for restoration. Always. Always. And yet what comes out of our mouth can be the opposite. Now this morning, all I kept thinking in my mind is that I've spoken myself into a corner. And that's not the expression. Does anyone know what the expression is? You've painted yourself into a corner. Can you put up that picture for me, Robert? There's an expression that means you've painted yourself into a corner, which basically means, as you can see, that you've actually put yourself in a situation where you've now got a problem. It's like, well, how can I get out of this? I can't really maneuver my way out of it. It felt fine while you were painting because there was plenty of space to work with. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, whoops, I haven't thought this through, and now I'm over here. And I knew today that I thought, I've spoken myself into a corner. And some of you are where you are feeling like in a confined space because you've been speaking yourself into a corner. And now you're like, oh, I don't really know how to get out of this. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. And because there is a way out of that corner if we will listen. Now, I believe totally that the Creator speaks wonderfully through his creation. Do you? I think he really does. Psalm 19 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. If you pop up the next slide, Robert. I thought about this. We are sitting here in York, but we are also suspended in space. That's amazing. So that's amazing, isn't it? Now, it totally makes sense to me that creation will speak. The Creator will speak through his creation. And I want to show you a short video. It's a little bit weird. It's only 3 minutes. It's a little bit weird, but I found it today, and it is absolutely fascinating. It explores the work of a guy called Masaru Emoto. I think he's Japanese. Now, he conducted experiments where he took water from particular water sources like rivers, streams, and lakes, and they experimented on the water. And he could do this thing where he froze it, and then he looked at what the crystals did within the water. Now, he would put the water in jars, and then he would speak positive words, label some of them positively and some of them negatively, and he'd speak to some jars positive words, and he'd speak to some jars of water negative words, and he proposed that the structure of the water changed based on whether positive or negative words were spoken. Now, he studied this for years. He proposes he's got evidence for this. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that some people think it's nonsense. Some scientists say you can't prove it, your experiment is flawed. So I'm not giving it to you as scientific fact. I am giving it to you as possible fact, and also because it's really interesting in what we're talking about tonight, and I want it to symbolize for you and make memorable for you if something like this is possibly true. And they've also think that water has memory. Have you heard that? Apparently water has memory. Now, if something in nature can be moved and shaped by things around it, I certainly think we can. So I want you to watch it, and don't worry about whether it's true or not. That's not really the point. It's just fascinating what he found. So over the 3 minutes, you will see the crystals, and next to the crystal will be the words that were spoken over those crystals. And then you'll see in the images, it's a little bit weird, but you don't mind, do you? You don't mind a bit weird. So let's have a watch. I still... I just think that was interesting. I don't mind if it's true or not. I think it's just really interesting. Now, think about, if you can put the next slide on for me, Robert. Just think about the different areas of your life and the different things in your life that you are saying, I love you to, or I hate you to some areas of your life. And this guy just sort of tracked over. I mean, some people have got a lot of time on their hands, haven't they, to do this? Apparently, when people tried it at home, it didn't have the same impact. I still like to give it a go. I'm going to try it. When you see jars in our he's shaking his head now. I just think it's really interesting. Now, if you think of it as symbolizing your life, we are constantly doing this with different areas of our life. There's things that we will speak positively and we will love and we will nurture and we will invest. And then there's these other things. Like I was talking about in my situation earlier, that you're chewing over and you're talking to yourself about, and it's in your head and camped there. And we're all the time talking dislike to those things. Now, we don't tend to call it hate. We call it concern. Or we say, this is bothering me. Or we soften it enough to believe that it's actually just all right. But really, that's what we're doing. We're projecting onto something that it's something very not helpful. So what might your internal experience be telling you about the shape of your confession at the minute in life? When you looked at those beautiful crystals, I liked the Amazing Grace one was absolutely gorgeous, wasn't it? Are you feeling internally that what's coming out of your life is this lovely shape of gratitude? Have you ever met a grateful person? Aren't grateful people just energize and to be around? We have this phrase at work where we talk about that you have your radiators and your drainers. And we go into schools and we talk to school leaders and say, are you radiating purpose and vision and energizing your team, or are you draining the life out of them with all the challenges and demands and tasks you're putting on them? And I wonder whether in life you feel you're radiating something or whether you just feel utterly, utterly drained. Might the words that we speak be able to speak us out of the corner in the same way that the words we spoke put us in the corner? Is that a possibility? Now, Romans 8 says, what shall we say to these things? What are these things? What's in the jar? What shall we say to these things? It's interesting that it says, what shall we say to these things? Not what shall we do about these things, but what shall we say to these things? It starts there. If God is for us, who can be against us? He who has given his Son in glorious covenant, won't he freely give us all things? Then it talks about who are we to bring a charge, an accusation against another or to condemn them? Saying who are we to use our words to bring a charge or accusation or condemn someone else? Who are we to do that? Who shall separate us from his love? And then he lists a bunch of things that covers pretty much everything that's possible and says nothing. None of these things are going to separate us. And then this was the bit that I really loved today. Yet in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor power, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. That wouldn't be a bad thing to confess every day, would it? As we start to speak life. Can you just pop up the next slide for me, Robert? Now, the one after that, sorry. This one. I am not a conqueror. Don't call me a conqueror. I am not a conqueror because I'm more than a conqueror. But I just thought it was a little bit cheesy. But when I thought about it, it does say more than a conqueror. And I was thinking, why use... And it does say that in the original, more than a conqueror, because more than means you gain a surpassing victory. It's not like, oh, I've conquered, I've barely survived by the skin of my teeth, but I've made it. More than a conqueror means you get a surpassing victory, you vanquish beyond. It's a decisive victory. It's not about just surviving and being the conqueror. It's about the fact that, my goodness me, I've got so far past this in life that I'm absolutely thriving, which I thought, that is better than just conqueror. I want to be a more than person. Now, can you hear tonight another voice beyond the voice that's left you in your corner to start to talk you out of that place and to start to speak life? And can we step out of those places to a surpassing victory over that which has imprisoned us? Because we can stay where we are, and we're still going to be loved where we are, but we're not going to experience liberation. We're still going to be in our own internal prison with our own critical voices in our mind, not able to surpass. There's the great song, and we're going to sing it in a few minutes, louder than the voice that whispers you're unworthy. Louder than that inner critic's voice. Louder than the voice that might have spoken that to you last year, last week, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, however many years you want to go back. Because that voice is a lie, because the covenant that we've got doesn't say you're unworthy. It says actually the opposite. It says the investment into you is endless and unbreakable because it's based on what he did, not on what you're ever going to do. So that's a lie. It's also louder than the voice that is in our minds telling us that that person over there is unworthy, that somehow or other you're just a problem in my life. If I could just get rid of you as my problem, everything would be all right. It's also louder than that voice as well. And as we sing this song tonight, it talks about you can come as you are. With all whatever state you're in, you can come as you are. And I want you to sing it for yourself, but I also want you to sing it for, this is going to sound odd, but I want you to sing it for the person whose voice is the voice in your head that is the biggest critic, that says you can come as you are. Even though your voice is, you can come as you are, and free them to do that and forgive them to do that and believe for the strength to do that. Because this is how we're going to begin to get past the influence of those voices to a surpassing victory. I feel like this is one of those things tonight where we can't fix it here and now. Because it took us all a while to speak enough stuff to ourselves that got us to this corner. You're not going to suddenly be able to leap over all that stuff you've painted in one shebang. Having said that, we can have a let there be light moment, can't we? That starts us and kickstarts us. So I believe this is going to be one of those ones that you've got to walk out. Will you please pay attention to what you are speaking and ask yourself, is what I'm saying here going to produce something in my life that I'm going to want to see and hear? Or is what I'm saying in my life going to produce something that, well, that I'm not going to want? Because those words are going to produce. It is inevitable. And we have to make the choice to speak life and to set our course in a new direction. Yes? Okay, God, give us the strength to speak life to us, to each other, and help us walk out the corners where we have spoken ourselves into. Amen. Let's sing. Let's sing.
About the on the floor that had been painted. It's easy to say, okay, we're in a corner, we see it, but then you've got to think about it. Okay, the only way out of this is to literally walk across the painted floor, and it's going to create marks and it's going to make a real mess. But that's the only option, isn't it? And sometimes you've got to be willing to say, right, in order to recognize this, I've got to take some action, and I might have to walk across my painted floor. And I might realize that then I'm going to have to do some work to fix the problem. But you've got to come out of that corner. And so I just want there to be a call to action tonight as we sing this song. There's a point where we have to just acknowledge, isn't there? Where we have to say, yes, I'm doing that. This is me. I'm in a corner. I keep painting and finding myself there. Well, let's walk across it, even if we get red painted feet at the end of it, and at least admit and acknowledge in order that we can go a different direction. But if you need to, you can come to stand at the front here. It's not that at the front here there's any special powers or anything like that. It's just an opportunity for you to make a gesture of intent that you have taken this on board, and as we sing this, you can be saying yes louder than the voice louder than that voice that tells me I'm unworthy. We're going to hear the sound of love that tells a different story. And, tonight can be the turning point of your journey. So, okay, we'll sing it. And then we're done. Do you want us to go from the beginning or just louder than the voice? Beginning. Come on, take it.
He's not mad at you, and he's not disappointed. His grace is greater still than all of your choices. He is full of mercy, and he is ever kind. And here is invitation. His arms are open wide. You can come as you are, with all your broken pieces, with all your shameful scars, the pain you hold in your heart, but bring it all to Jesus. You can come as you are. Louder than my voice, the whispers you're unworthy. Hear the sound of love that tells a different story, shattering the darkness and pushing through the lies. How tenderly he calls you, his arms are open wide. You can come as you are, with all your broken pieces, with all your shameful scars, the pain you hold in your heart, and bring it all to Jesus. You can come as you are. You can come as you I can come as I am, with all my broken pieces and all my shameful scars, the pain I hold in my heart, I bring it all to Jesus. I can come as I Lord, we're just so grateful that you do accept us
just as we are. And that grace that we've come to understand is just so incredible. And so, Lord, you know us all. You know us better than we know ourselves. And we know that you are working in us to bring us to that place where we stop hearing those awful voices and awful lies, but all we hear is that wonderful voice of a loving Father. And you're working that in us and through us. And so, Lord, as the message has gone out tonight, I pray that we will just apply it to our hearts. I pray that each time we choose to listen to something from the past which is seeking to pull us down, we will find a way of hearing the good news of the gospel and who you are as a Father to us, and that we will walk in that light of your love, and we will find that we are transformed by it and our minds are renewed. So, Father, just help us as we go out from this place. Help us to continue to live out this awesome love, this awesome forgiveness, this awesome newness of life that you've poured upon us. And let us be examples to this world. We ask it in your name. Yes. Yes. Amen. Thank you. God bless you. See you Wednesday. I dare you. Come Wednesday. Oh, tomorrow morning. Yeah, breakfast first. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. You can find out more about all the Rock is doing locally and internationally at www.rockofyork.co.uk. If you consider yourself part of our growing global community, then why not support The Rock from wherever you are? Just hit the donate button on our homepage to help us help others.